So with everything that's been going on since September 10th, which was the day of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there's a lot of topics we have not discussed. Maybe other people have discussed it, but this is one that I wanted to discuss with you guys today. And that has to do with Cracker Barrel. The only reason we're having this conversation is because we talked about it when the whole rebrand thing popped off, right? When the CEO, the liberal female CEO, came out and said that she was going to basically Taco Bell Cracker Barrel. You guys know what I mean. She was the CEO of Taco Bell, made a bunch of changes there. Taco Bell kind of went into the crapper for a lot of people when they brought in the AI voice at the drive-thrus instead of the people. When you have to order everything on the kiosk inside the store or the restaurant location, whatever you want to call the dining area part of a Taco Bell. A lot of issues there. And for some reason, Cracker Barrel was like, hey, let's give her a shot. So they brought her in and she immediately tried to basically set the place on fire with the rebranding of everything, changing the logo, changing the interior, a little bit of all of the things that should never have been done, right? They have been over the last few years very big into the whole DEI push, which when President Trump came in and basically got rid of DEI, you would have thought that would have been a sign for Cracker Barrel to kind of go back to its roots, as opposed to what they did, which was still continue on this path of destruction for their corporation, right? Interestingly enough, today, Wednesday, September 17th, is when the earnings report will come out for Cracker Barrel, amongst numerous others. General Mills, all these other companies, their earnings reports will come out today. Should be very interesting. They won't come out till much later today, so we'll do an update with that later. But here's the great news. And I say great news because we talked about it a couple weeks ago when they decided to put a temporary pause on their rebranding, remodeling, whatever, because of the massive backlash that they were receiving from everybody, mainly on the right, obviously, but there were still some people on the left who were like, hey, listen, maybe don't go through and, F up everything. So the news that came out on September 9th, which we did not get to because of, unfortunately, what happened on September 10th, which is still horrific. And I'm trying to do things outside of that topic because it's still such a fresh situation, right, for a lot of people. So that's why we're here doing Cracker Barrel instead of any of that. Trying to get my mind right. Hopefully y'all have been working on getting your minds right, your emotions right with everything. But anyway, Cracker Barrel came out and this is what they said on September 9th. They said, you've shared your voices in recent weeks, not just on our logo, but also on our restaurants. We're continuing to listen. Today, we're suspending our remodels. If your restaurant hasn't been remodeled, you don't need to worry. It won't be. With our recent announcement that our old-timer logo will remain, along with our bigger focus in the kitchen and on your plate, we hope that today's step reinforces that we hear you. All right, that's great. We love that. We love the fact that they've realized that maybe they were shooting themselves in the foot and making very bad decisions here. Now, because of how I look at everything, you could also go, was it all the plan to begin with to drive the name Cracker Barrel into the media to push the sales, to get people into the stores to see what was going on? Bud Light, when they had, what's his name? Dylan Mulvaney on their commercial, in the dress and whatever, pretending to be a girl. It backfired for them horrifically, especially because they put up that commercial during football. Like, do you not know your audience? Do you not know your base? Anything like that? Either way, they did that, and a lot of people started posting Bud Light all over social media. Kid Rock shooting up his Bud Light, all these people. And then, people are like, well, we're not going to sell it anymore. Well, you've already bought it. If it's on your shelves, you've already paid for it, so you're hurting yourself there. But Bud Light was all over social media, and it kind of helped them in the long run, right? And then they go, oh, my bad. We messed up. We won't do that again. And now people are back to drinking Bud Light, and maybe even more so now than before, just because the way media can manipulate your mind, right? So then I pull up this visual here. Just Cracker Barrel put this up. It says, like any good relationship, sometimes you just need a little tune-up. We're going back to the things that made us fall in love in the first place, and we don't need the volume here. Hold on, I want to show you guys the video because they're trying to make it all, HD TV style, homey, whatever. They've got them on the lift there, and they're taking down the old, the new old, and putting up the old, and then putting back the regular rocking chairs. No rainbow rocking chairs. No, they removed the wooden ones and we're putting up polywood. Now, polywood's great. I'm not gonna lie. We have polywood for our outdoor seating area in my house. Polywood is great, but the good old fashioned, wooden rockers is what you're used to at Cracker Barrel. So seeing the Pollywood ones there, it was kind of like, it changes things, and people like nostalgia. No matter who you are, there's something that reminds you of your childhood, maybe your parents, your loved ones, that you don't want to see changed. And Cracker Barrel has to be that. Yes, Cracker Barrel is not our heritage or anything like that, but Cracker Barrel has a lot to do with people's memories and their feelings. So then here's the interesting part. Cracker Barrel, their corporate investment holding of BlackRock and Vanguard, is a corporate investment holding of BlackRock and Vanguard. A lot of people will say, oh, well, BlackRock's behind it, Vanguard's behind it. Well, unfortunately, because they are in the 401k business, there are a lot of companies that BlackRock and Vanguard will have their hands in, because it has to do with the stocks and everything else, and it has to do with your 401k and all this other stuff. So I'm never surprised when somebody goes, oh, BlackRock's in here, Vanguard's in here. They're going to be in 99.9% of things, just because they are in the business of money, right? Now, Cracker Barrel, unfortunately, has spent the last decade openly, basically anti-white and pro-gender revolution, which, again, not what the company was started as, and over time it has morphed into something different, right? Their logo, a lot of people don't care about it. It's not a big deal to those of us who have an emotional tie to it. It was a big deal, right? But here's the problem. This is Cracker Barrel's website, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging at Cracker Barrel. And it's all about standing against racial injustice, which is fine. LGBTQ plus alliance. Okay. Be bold. And then OLA. There's an OLA section. OLA's mission is to promote Hispanic and Latino culture through hiring, developing, and retaining talent within Cracker Barrel, to create a culture of inclusivity and awareness through community outreach. Why are we singling out Spanish? Why isn't there a Haitian version, or a Russian version, or a Ukrainian version, or whatever version? Why is it like a Spanish version? Shouldn't we throw in every single language if we're going to be all singular out? Anyway. And then it says, be bold. The mission of Be Bold is to cultivate and develop Black leaders within the Cracker Barrel organization, utilizing allyship, mentorship, and education to create a path to continued excellence, as well as a vibrant and diverse community. Okay. Then you have your LGBTQ plus alliance, supporting home, office, and field employees to bring their whole selves to work while strengthening Cracker Barrel's relationship to the LGBTQ plus community. Standing against racial injustice. We took a stand against racial injustice along with more than 30 other Tennessee companies by signing a letter to the Tennessee governor urging the bust of a controversial figure in Southern racial history be removed from the state capitol in 2020. So basically, they signed a thing to try to remove history. That's what it is. This is not just about Cracker Barrel, the company, the logo, the rebranding, the modernizing of the interior. It's about trying to change history, erase history, all these different things. When you bring in, unfortunately, when you bring in DEI, you're telling your already there employees and base and everything else that they aren't good enough, and that you want to kiss the butt of different people. That's what it comes down to. I personally would never want to be hired, and we've talked about this before. I would never want to be hired because I'm white. I'd never want to be hired because I'm female. I want to be hired because I am the best person for the job. If it happens to be me versus somebody else, okay. If it's somebody else versus me, okay. But it should be because you're the best person for the job, not because you check a queer box or a black box or a speak Spanish box or a whatever box. That should never be why you have a job. It shouldn't be about cultivating, developing Black leaders within the Cracker Barrel community. Why aren't you cultivating and developing all leaders within the Cracker Barrel community? Why are you only focusing on Black leaders? What about the white, the Asian, the Hispanic, the Indian, the whatever else? Why do they not get the same amount of help or guidance or whatever that you're giving to the Black community? And again, with the OLA, why are we promoting Spanish speaking? Why are we not promoting Italian speaking? Oh, that sounds stupid. Italian speaking, Haitian speaking, Russian speaking, Portuguese, like all these different things. These are the questions that I have. And this, I think, is where Cracker Barrel started to lose its people, not because of the rebranding, because this happened long before that, but a lot of people stopped going when they realized that what Cracker Barrel started as and what its core was slowly being changed into something that did not represent the people that actually go to Cracker Barrel. It's great, right? Let's say it. It's great that you want to do more for more people within your business. But if it alienates the people you need in order for your business to continue running, you're making a really bad decision. You're making a really bad decision. And that's, I mean, anyway, so that was interesting to me. Then I was looking and it was talking about how today Cracker Barrel's earnings are coming out, right? And they're expecting it to drop down to 77 cents a share from 98 cents. That's what they're saying. They're saying the revenue projected at 855 million is a 4.38% decline from what it would have been last year, or maybe what they thought it was going to be. And then they're talking about how retail sales struggle amid cautious consumer spending. This is information, like I said, the numbers are coming out a little bit later for them, General Mills, everybody else. But it's going to be interesting to see what the whole kerfuffle of Cracker Barrel has done to its bottom line, its overall numbers, because they not only did they put money into, like, they had to pull money out of the coffers to make these rebrands, to change these logos, to change the interiors, to hire the people. I'm sure they paid more for people that check the boxes, right, than the regular people that just happen to get hired based off of being the right place, right time, and, you know, right for the job versus that box checking thing. They spent all that money, but did they recoup enough because of the rubberneckers? That's what we're calling it. You know, when you drive past an accident or you see the flashing lights, you have a tendency to turn and look. The people who decided to go and visit a Cracker Barrel because of all this, because they wanted to see what the inside looked like, because they wanted to try the food, because they wanted to see the service, that's rubbernecking in a different sense. And that may have offset the money that was spent to make these rebrands and do these things. And it's possible, y'all, it's possible that this will work out just fine for Cracker Barrel and they'll come out in the green versus the red. Do I think so? No, I think they did a little more damage to themselves than they realized. But it will be interesting to see how the numbers come out. When the numbers come out, my wonder is, if the numbers are better than they expected, will they pivot once again and re-pick up with the rebranding? Or will they stay the path of saying, never mind, we've heard you, we're not doing anything? I'm curious to see how wishy-washy back and forth they go with all of this. So that's that. I just wanted to bring that information for those of you who were curious. Again, the earnings release will be coming out today, Wednesday, for numerous companies. Cracker Barrel, General Mills. They're talking about bullish Sangoma. I don't know what that is or how to read it. In my eyes, I have to use mom eyes and I still can't really read it. Tomorrow you have FedEx coming out, and then those are the only ones that really, to me, matter, like at what I'm looking at, because those are ones that I know. I don't know a lot of these other ones. But either way, paying attention to what's going on in the stock market is a very, very good idea. Just FYI for everybody, you may not think it matters, but it really does. The stock market matters immensely. What's going on with these companies, their highs and their lows matters immensely. It determines, you know, what you're going to end up paying for something, how many people they're going to keep employed or fire or hire. These things matter. So pay attention to the numbers when they come out. We'll talk about them later if you guys want to. But for now, that's it. I just wanted to give you the update on Cracker Barrel. Now you know. Now we're all aware that they are backpedaling because of the backlash, as well they should. And just kind of see if they stick with it or what's going to happen there. That's all. I love y'all. Okay, goodbye.